Okay, so natural monopolies round three, the final round. We got some key concepts here. We understand that in a natural monopoly, it really helps us do what? It really helps us review the key points on the monopoly graph, and then we look at the natural monopoly graph, and what do we realize? We realize those points, those exact same points are there, but different things are happening. So you can identify the key points on the monopoly graph. Now looking at the natural monopoly, if the regulator went to the monopoly and said, all right, you're charging the profit maximizing quantity, okay? In the profit, you're charging the profit maximizing price and you're producing the profit maximizing quantity. You'd say, all right, well, the price is too high, quantity is too little, you're not meeting society's needs. So one of the things they might say is, all right, monopoly, you regular monopoly, let's regulate you at socially optimal. That seems like a good point. That's where supply meets demand, and that's what society wants. Okay, well, what's the difference looking at both these graphs if they do it on the monopoly and they do it on the natural monopoly? Think about it. Think about it. Okay. You're probably seeing it. I bet you saw it. On the monopoly graph right here, they're making a profit. But look what happens here on the natural monopoly graph. On the natural monopoly graph, if they regulate them right here, ooh, they would make a loss. So essentially, what the government options are is you can either A, regulate them at the fair rate of return for a natural monopoly. You can regulate them at the fair rate of return, which would be zero economic profit. The problem there is what? The problem there is you are not getting what society wants. You're still producing too little of a quantity for what society wants. So the other option would be, all right, natural monopoly, we are going to regulate you at this point right here, at socially optimal. That's socially optimal. That's where marginal cost meets demand, which is where society's ability to supply and wants meet. But problem is, at that point, they're making a loss. As a matter of fact, how big of a loss is it? Well, it's $1 times 250. So they're losing in this situation $250. So what the government would have to do if they wanted to regulate this at socially optimal and allow them to break even is they would say, all right, produce at socially optimal. And then we will provide you a lump sum subsidy of $250. $1 times 250. That's the trick of the natural monopoly. To understand that through the average total cost is constantly downward sloping through the relevant range of the demand curve. The marginal cost hasn't intersected with it. Theoretically, the marginal cost could be a little upward sloping at some point, but it's the average total during the range of the demand curve. But it is the average total cost that's constantly driving down throughout the demand curve. That is why it is a natural monopoly. And why does this happen? Because of scale. Think of the huge scale of Riverland. I mean, they have millions and millions of dollars of infrastructure. You guys, if you've driven on 35, Highway 35, you've seen all those huge light or electrical setups that they've been creating over the last 5 years between like 2015 and 2020. Those cost a ton of money, and the marginal cost, the minimal cost that they have to hook up a new house is very little. So their average so they have a huge total cost, but then the average total cost gets spread out over a lot of houses, and the cost to hook up a new house is almost inconsequential. So that's why the electrical company is a great example of a natural monopoly. It's going to have huge scale. We're probably better off just having one versus having a bunch of um, competing firms. But in this situation here, the government may need to provide a subsidy of that size to keep it in business. Otherwise, they're going to get out of business. So hopefully that made sense. Until next time.